this video, we'll be focusing on developing the skill of a netball shot and will provide a summary of a 6-week program to enhance this skill. The netball shot is an extremely important aspect of a netball game as it is the main factor that allows you to win a game. A netball shot is predominantly classified as an open skill, as the subject acts accordingly to external factors. These external factors can include the other players on your team, defenders, height of your opponent, as well as weather if you are playing outdoors. As these aspects of the game are constantly changing, the netball shot is considered open. Although a netball shot is an open skill, it can also be categorized into a closed skill. A closed skill is defined as a self-initiated action in which the environment is stable, unchanging, and predictable. This relates to a netball shot, as during the performance of the skill, many aspects remain stable, including the height of the ring, your own height, the size and weight of the ball, and the 3-second rule. According to the one-dimensional classification system, the size of the skill is both gross and fine. A gross skill requires the use of large musculature, whereas fine skills involve greater control of small muscles and focus predominantly on hand-eye coordination. As a netball shot involves both large musculature and hand-eye coordination, it falls in the middle of the continuum. The distinctiveness of a netball shot is recognized as a discrete skill, as it has a distinct beginning and end point. Gentile's two-dimensional taxonomy is an additional way of classifying a skill. It provides a more detailed description of a skill in order to construct a specific training program for skill acquisition. According to this procedure, a netball shot is classified as 2B. The skill is considered 2B because object manipulation is present when the ball is in motion. Dynamic regulatory conditions are also evident, which are the defenders. Upon research, we concluded that there are 3 key components in performing a netball shot. Correct form and technique are vital in performing an accurate and successful shot. The first aspect is ball positioning and release. The ball should be held on the pads of the tips of the fingers of the dominant hand. There should be space between the ball and the palm of the hand. The non-dominant hand will support the ball by lightly resting the fingertips on the side. During the release, the wrist will simultaneously flex. After the release of the ball, it is important to follow through by flicking the fingers. The next key aspect is stance of the shooter. In a netball shot, stance directly links to balance, which is also a key element in performing the shot successfully. Feet should be placed hip-width apart with equal weight on each foot to ensure optimal height and base of support. Simultaneously with ball release, plantar flexion should occur. The shooter will conclude the shot by standing slightly on the toes. The last key aspect is knee and elbow flexion, which are performed simultaneously. This is important for creating force production and velocity at the ball release. Knees should be flexed at least 127 degrees. The larger the knee angle, the more force production. As the athlete is at a novice level and has never performed the skill before, they will demonstrate zero transfer upon commencing the training program. Several types of testing are performed both prior to and after completing the training program. Before commencing the training program in week 1, a qualitative and quantitative test will be completed. The same tests will be completed in week 6 at the completion of the training program. The quantitative test that has been included in the program to assess the athlete's skill level involves getting the athlete to shoot 10 goals 2 meters away from the goal ring and record how many are successful out of the 10. The qualitative test involves assessing each of the key aspects of the netball shot while the athlete is shooting and giving them a score out of 5 for each key aspect. As well as completing the quantitative and qualitative testing during the last session of week 6, a transfer test will be carried out 24 to 48 hours after completing the training program. This involves observing the athlete in a game-like situation to assess their level of skill development. A week after finishing the program, a retention test will be conducted, which involves the athlete repeating the quantitative and qualitative tests, with no feedback or coaching points throughout the week prior or during the testing. Distributed practice is used throughout the program as it is considered the best type of practice for discrete skills. It consists of 90 minutes of short, spread-out drills throughout the training program. For this program, the distributed practice is broken into 3 30-minute sessions per week. Whole practice is applied throughout the whole training program. This is because the skill is low in complexity and high in organisation. Week's 1 overall aim is to learn and develop correct technique. The drills are focused on technique and increasing familiarity with netball. The athlete is in the cognitive stage of learning. This means the learner is beginning to understand the nature of the skill. As they have only just been introduced to the skill, numerous gross errors will occur. Blocked practice is used in week 1. At the end of the week, the athlete should be able to use correct technique and gain an understanding to what can affect a netball shot. The drills in week 2 are focused on correct technique, rebounds and follow through. This week's practice is again blocked. At the end of the week, the athlete should be able to maintain correct technique. They should be able to follow through and catch any rebounds, and the athlete should also be able to receive a range of different passes before taking a shot. The aim of week 3 is movement around the goal circle. The drills focus heavily on the shooter's positioning. As well as movement, this week also targets foot placement. Specific focus is placed on the introduction and practice of the split stance technique of landing. The type of practice remains blocked as the conditions have not been altered. At the end of week 3, the athlete should be able to successfully move in, out and around the goal circle and use a split stance when appropriate. The training sessions in week 4 focus on working with another shooter. The shooter has progressed from the cognitive stage of learning to the associative stage. The type of practice has changed in reference to the stage of learning the athlete is in. Random practice has been introduced as the presence of another shooter introduces different regulatory conditions every time the drills are performed. At the end of this week, the shooter should be able to successfully work with another shooter. The focus of week 5 is to include a defender and add pressure to the shooter. These two variables may affect performance, however should enhance the athlete's degree of learning. Block practice has been entirely eliminated and the focus is on random practice. At the end of the week, the athlete should be able to successfully move around the goal circle, away from defenders, and shoot with the added pressure of defenders. The aim throughout week 6 is to put all of the aspects learnt together in a game-like situation. The athlete will finish the training program in the associative stage. The practice in week 6 is random as gameplay is introduced with a number of changing variables. At the end of week 6, the athlete should be able to successfully perform their position as a shooter, combining all key aspects and skills learnt from previous weeks of the training program. Prior to commencing the training program, the athlete will be a novice, therefore in the cognitive stage of learning. By week 4, the athlete's skills should begin to be in the associative stage. At the completion of the program in week 6, the athlete remains in the associative stage of learning. Theoretically, it can take months and years for an individual to progress into the autonomous stage of learning for a skill. This may be achieved with appropriate and intense training and coaching.